I watched the man I was supposed to marry place a diamond ring on my sister's finger. The same man who held my hand through college finals, kissed my forehead after my mother's funeral, and whispered promises of forever into my ear under a blanket of stars. And now he stood there, smiling, while Camille beamed up at him like she hadn't just gutted me with a blade carved from my own trust. I didn't cry. Not then. I just watched, silent and frozen, my heart cracking wide open like thin ice under heavy footsteps. What do you do when the two people you loved most decide you're disposable? I never imagined betrayal could be so quiet. So neat. No explosions. No screaming. Just a nauseating stillness where your world used to be. Camille and I were close once. At least I thought we were. Growing up we were inseparable. She was the wild one, spontaneous, bold, always 3 steps ahead of trouble. I was the steady one, organized, loyal, cautious. We balanced each other. Or so I believed. My mom used to say, "You're the heart, Lena. She's the fire. Together you keep each other warm." I should have known fire can burn. Tyler and I met in our junior year of college. He was charming, driven, funny in that dry, sarcastic way that made you feel like you were in on a secret joke. He was never the loudest in the room but always the one you noticed. And when he noticed me, I felt like the luckiest girl in the world. We built our lives slowly. Graduated. Got jobs. Moved into a small apartment in Atlanta. Adopted a grumpy old rescue cat named Dozer. Got engaged on a rooftop bar surrounded by fairy lights and our friends clapping in surprise. It was everything I'd ever wanted. Simple, sweet, full of quiet love. Camille was my maid of honor. Of course she was. I didn't even consider anyone else. She cheered the loudest when I showed her my ring. Called it a fairy tale in real life. Hugged me so tightly I thought she might crack a rib. And yet, there was something in her eyes I couldn't place. A flicker. Flash. Something too quick to name. The sabotage began slowly. Tiny comments. "Tyler seemed a little distant lately, huh?" Or, "I bumped into him at that wine bar on 5. Weird that he didn't mention he was going." Or, "You sure you want to rush into this?" First I laughed it off. Camille was just being protective, I told myself. She'd always been that way. Blunt, nosy, a little chaotic but never malicious. I ignored the pit in my stomach. The late-night text she didn't want me to see. The way Tyler would suddenly go quiet whenever I mentioned Camille. The times I'd walk into a room and find them talking just a little too close. I trusted them. Until I couldn't. The week before our wedding, Tyler called it off. No warning. No fight. Just a statement like someone canceling a dinner reservation. "I'm sorry, Lena. This isn't right anymore." Thought it was a joke. I laughed. I waited for him to say he was kidding. He didn't. I collapsed on the floor that night, curled into the corner of my empty closet with my wedding dress bag still hanging above me. The silence screamed. Camille didn't call. Didn't show up. Disappeared like a shadow at sunrise. And then, 2 months later, she posted a photo on Instagram. Tyler. Her. The ring. My ring. Same venue. Same photographer. Same exact date we'd booked. Only now it was their wedding. I don't know how long I stared at that photo. Hours. Days. I felt like my chest had been hollowed out, replaced with something sharp and heavy. People whispered, of course. Some pitied me. Others pretended not to know. A few, cowards, said maybe I'd overreacted. Maybe Camille and Tyler had found each other in a way we couldn't. I vanished from social media. Took a leave from work. Moved out of the apartment. Left Dozer with my best friend because even his presence made the pain too loud. I was numb. Hollow. But grief has a funny way of transforming you. In the quiet, you start to hear your own voice again. In the loneliness, you remember who you were before the world broke your heart. I didn't plan revenge. I didn't stalk them or plot some grand takedown. I just started healing. It was slow at first. I took walks. Ate food that didn't come in a wrapper. Read books with happy endings. Went to therapy. Picked up freelance gigs. Reconnected with old friends who remembered me before Camille and Tyler became my entire world. I learned to like my own company. And somewhere along the way I stopped asking why me, and started whispering, thank you. Because the pain carved space inside me, for growth, for clarity, for something better. And as for Camille and Tyler, well, karma doesn't need an invitation. And when it came for them, it wasn't loud. It wasn't cruel. It was just poetic. The first time I saw them after everything fell apart, it wasn't planned. I had just wrapped up a design consultation downtown. I'd started my own interior decor business. Small at first, mostly word-of-mouth clients, but it was mine. Every piece of it built from the ashes of what I lost. I was walking out of a trendy little cafe, caramel macchiato in hand, when I saw them on the patio. Camille's laugh hit me first. It hadn't changed, shrill, dramatic, like she needed everyone around to know she was happy. But what caught me off guard was how unhappy they looked. Tyler sat stiffly in his chair, scrolling through his phone, barely responding to her chatter. Camille was talking a mile a minute, tossing her hair, adjusting her blouse, like she was trying too hard to be seen, to be adored. Like the performance was falling flat and she didn't know how to rewrite the scene. I stopped mid-step. Not out of fear, but curiosity. There was no hate in my chest. No longing. No ache. Just the sharp, bitter clarity of someone who finally sees things as they truly are. And in that moment I realized something simple yet profound. They didn't win. They had each other, sure. But what they didn't have: peace, trust, authentic love. Because how could you ever trust someone who built their forever on betrayal? That day lit something inside me. Not revenge. Not bitterness. Something better. Drive. I poured myself into my business. Worked ridiculous hours. Took risks. I even enrolled in a short course on design entrepreneurship. My calendar filled. My savings grew. Clients referred their friends. Then came local media features. A small business spotlight on the news. People started calling me the woman who turned heartbreak into a brand. The irony? It was true. What hurt me didn't destroy me. It introduced me to the version of myself I never would have met otherwise. Camille reached out once about a year later. A simple DM. Hey. Hope you're doing okay. I know things got weird. I miss you. Weird? Weird was what you call running into your ex at Target. Not stealing your sister's fiancé. I didn't reply. But I clicked her profile just to peek. Her page was curated perfection as always. Matching outfits with Tyler. Sponsored post. Brunch photos. But the comments? They told a different story. People were asking why she unfollowed her husband. Others wondered why her ring had vanished in recent pics. One person even said, didn't she steal her sister's man, or was that someone else? And that was just the beginning. Turns out Camille had been lying, again. To everyone. Tyler's job had let him go a few months after their wedding. Something about ethics violations. Word got around that he'd used confidential information to help a buddy land a contract. Classic Tyler, greasy charm masking empty integrity. Camille, of course, tried to pivot. Started selling wellness teas. Promoted crystals she sourced herself from Sedona. Tried to rebrand as a healing empath. But it didn't stick. People remembered. Screenshots floated. Podcasts speculated. Her brand was tainted, just enough to make sponsors nervous. I found all this out through whispers, client conversations, even one viral Reddit thread. I never asked for updates. They came. Karma was working overtime and I didn't even have to lift a finger. One day, a big opportunity landed in my inbox. A chance to design the interior of a luxury co-working space. Huge client. Even bigger exposure. When I showed up to the meeting, guess who else was there? Tyler. But not as a partner. He was serving water. Interning. Apparently, trying to restart his career after the scandal made him practically untouchable in his old field. He saw me. Really saw me. Confident. Focused. Surrounded by a team who respected me. I was everything he'd once told me I was too soft to be. He gave me a stiff nod, like maybe I'd be petty. Maybe I'd gloat. I just smiled. Not out of smugness. Out of peace. Because for the first time in years I was exactly where I belonged. I didn't need revenge. Their own choices did all the work for me. A few weeks later, I got a call from my mother. She doesn't usually call me during the workday, so I picked up immediately, heart racing. She didn't waste time with pleasantries. "It's Camille," she said, her voice tight. She's going through something. She's back in town. Staying here for a bit." I didn't respond. Because honestly, I didn't know what I was supposed to feel. Was I supposed to rush to her side? Console her? Pretend she hadn't torn my world in half and waltzed away like I never mattered? "I thought you should know," Mom added. "She asked about you." Of course she did. Because when Camille's world falls apart, she always needs an audience. Someone to clean up the mess, to anchor her chaos. But I wasn't that person anymore. Not for her. Not for anyone who used me like a safety net. I thanked my mom and hung up. That night, I sat on my balcony, wine in hand, watching the city breathe beneath me. The air was cool, quiet, peaceful. And for the first time in a long time, I allowed myself to remember everything. Not to feel pain, but to feel pride. I'd survived. Not just the betrayal, but the silence that came after. The self-doubt. The nights I couldn't recognize my own reflection in the mirror. The endless questions of, why wasn't I enough? And now I was enough. More than enough. A week later, I ran into Camille at the grocery store. She looked tired. No makeup. Hair thrown into a sloppy bun. Clothes that looked like she grabbed them off someone else's floor. Her cart was nearly empty, save for a few sad frozen dinners and a bottle of cheap red wine. I almost walked past her. Almost. But she looked up and her eyes widened. "Lena," she breathed like my name tasted strange in her mouth. I paused, waiting to see what lie she'd spin this time. She said nothing. Just stared at me. Like she was unsure if she should hug me or run. I gave her a small smile. A real one. Kind. Distant. Pitying. Then I kept walking. Because I had nothing left to say to her. And honestly, that silence was the loudest closure I could ever give. A few months later, our cousin got married. Big family event. I debated skipping it but decided to go. Not for Camille. Not for Tyler. For me. I wore a green silk dress that hugged every curve just right. Walked in with confidence. Held my head high. And let me tell you, heads turned. Camille was there, seated awkwardly at a table in the back. Alone. Tyler was nowhere in sight. Rumor was they'd split for good after a brutal fight at some influencer retreat. He'd left in the middle of the night. Took the car. Blocked her number. She didn't even approach me. Just stared from across the room, eyes glassy, as if watching a ghost of the sister she once knew. But I wasn't a ghost. I was real. Alive. Thriving. And I danced like I owned the floor. People whispered, "Sure. That's what families do." But this time I didn't care. Because no matter what they said, about the past, about the betrayal, my story was mine. And I had rewritten it beautifully. That night, as the music pulsed and laughter bubbled around me, I felt something powerful. Not revenge. Not triumph. Freedom. And maybe that was the real victory. Not watching Camille crumble. But realizing I didn't need her downfall to rise. I'd already won. A few years have passed now. Strange looking back. Sometimes I wonder if that girl, curled on the floor of her closet with a shattered heart, was even me. I remember her pain, her confusion, the way she searched every mirror for a reason why she wasn't enough. Now, I look in the mirror and see strength. Not the loud, flashy kind. The quiet, unshakable kind you earn inch by inch after being torn apart and rebuilding brick by brick. I didn't just survive the betrayal. I transformed because of it. My business is thriving. I opened my own studio space last year. White walls, warm wood floors, natural light pouring through tall windows. It's everything I used to sketch in the margins of notebooks back when dreaming felt safer than trying. Clients trust me, respect me. I even hired 2 assistants and started mentoring young women fresh out of design school. I tell them what no one told me back then, that heartbreak can't define you unless you let it. That betrayal, when faced head-on, becomes a blueprint for strength. One of my assistants once asked if I ever miss him. Or her. I didn't even hesitate. "No," I said. "But I'm grateful to them." Because here's the truth people don't like to admit. Sometimes the people who hurt you are the very ones who set you free. Camille and Tyler ripped the foundation out from under me, but in doing so they forced me to build something real. And what I've built? Solid. Rooted in truth. In self-respect. In knowing who I am. Last I heard, Camille moved back in with our parents. Tried to go back to school. Dropped out again. Tyler? He resurfaced briefly in a startup that fizzled within 6 months. Rumor is he's bouncing between jobs, still chasing shortcuts. Sometimes I see glimpses of their lives on mutual friends' feeds. Forced smiles. Filtered memories. It doesn't sting anymore. I don't feel hate. Or anger. Or even pity. I feel nothing. And nothing, I've learned, is the most beautiful piece of all. I'm dating now. Fully. Carefully. Not because I'm afraid, though part of me always will be, but because I know myself now. And I won't lose myself again for the promise of love wrapped in lies. I'm not looking for someone to complete me. I already did that on my own. Last weekend I went back to that rooftop bar, the one where Tyler proposed all those years ago. It's a wine lounge now. Rebranded. New menu. Same twinkle lights. I stood there alone watching the city shimmer below, and felt the past float away like fog in morning sun. I toasted myself. To the girl I was. To the woman I became. To every scar turned into strength. And I smiled. Because my story didn't end with betrayal. It began with it. And what followed was the most beautiful revenge of all. A life I love. A peace I earned. A strength no one can take from me again. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and comment down below. I want to hear your story too. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. New episodes drop every single day with more real, raw stories of betrayal, healing, and the sweetest karma you've ever heard. Thank you for listening. You're stronger than you think. And your comeback? It's already happening.